Hey, everybody. It's Jerry. I just want to pop in real quick and give a little update and a little clarification on where and when we are. I believe we are right at the cusp of the falling of Babylon. Babylon the Great, which I believe is the United States and the West as a whole, um, but mostly the United States, that great city that ruleth over the kings of the earth. A lot of confusion comes in, especially with the pre-tribulation camp, is that they get the cart before the horse and teach that the fall of Babylon happens before the 42-month Great Tribulation. And it's actually the reverse. Okay. And we'll see that in the book of Revelation and in the Old Testament scriptures to confirm that Babylon the Great actually falls and comes into the remembrance of God to punish her after the seventh bowl or vial. Okay. So it's actually at the end. Okay. And if you want to see the timing of the 42-month tribulation, when it started, when it was cut short, when it ended, um, what happened immediately after the tribulation of those days, the great falling away, and the events of Israel, and the days of vengeance proceeding and going forth, and the 2 years of rumor and violence among the kings that has transpired. You can see that on on the timeline that I share on my posts that Ronnie and I went over for 2+ years. Okay, so if you need to see that, it's there for you. But I just wanted to point out here the timing of Babylon's fall and the chronological order that it follows. Okay, most people teach that Revelation 17 and 18 is purely parenthetical. Okay, that it doesn't have a timing placement. It's kind of like John steps out of the narrative is shown, and to a certain extent that's true. But the actual fall of Babylon, the physical falling of Babylon, okay, uh, Ronnie and I taught previously that Babylon is fallen. That is a spiritual fall, and that is true. You know that Babylon is in a fallen state, but the actual destruction, where it never rises again, is about to physically take place now. Okay, so the mustering up to Armageddon, the sixth bowl and its placement, the sixth seal and its placement, right after the Great Tribulation is cut short, and the seventh trumpet was soon to sound, and it sounded. Okay, after the two witnesses were raised. We went over all that in our past audios, and you can find that in the timing of the timeline. But now that we're coming to the fall of physical Babylon and its destruction, like a millstone being cast into the sea with great violence and never to rise again. Okay, that's the point where we're at now. Now, if you look in Revelation 16 at the seventh vial, Revelation 16, verse 17, and the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, "It is done." Okay, and you'll see in the timeline that Ronnie and I placed that um, at the finishing of the signature of the Son of Man, the sign of the Son of Man, the Aleph Tav, on April 8th, 2024. Okay, during that eclipse, it was finished. Okay, and yes, it was a spiritual thing. Okay, most of your seals, your trumpets, your bowls, these are spiritual visions. Okay, they did have physical ramifications on the ground. Okay, and much of the trumpets and the preceding vials that were poured out afterward had had did have physical fulfillments on the ground. Okay, and we see that um, in other parts of Scripture. Okay, like with the false teachers. You know, Jesus and all the apostles again and again and again warned about the false teachers and the falling away that would happen after the great tribulation of those days, with the abomination of desolation and the mark of the beast was cut short. which, you see clearly happened on day 1150 on May 5th, 2023, during the blood moon, second Passover. Okay, after that, the falling away accelerated. The false teachers came in and divided the great city, that sphere of profession, into three segments. Okay, and that's when the heresies came, and I went over that extensively. But I just want to show you the timing now of the physical fall of Babylon. All right. So, and the seventh angel was poured out. Okay. And in verse 18, and there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since there were men upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into three parts. And we've seen that. And the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. So you see that that's when the punishment of Babylon came in the remembrance of God to do this to her. So we're going to move now to the next chapter, Revelation 17. We're not going to go over everything in an exhaustive manner. I just wanted to show you the timing. Okay, so what you see here in Revelation 17 is the exposition of Mystery Babylon, the woman that rides the beast, that sits on the beast, okay, and what happens to her in physical Babylon in the next chapter, okay, and we can see here. Let's see. All right, let's go to verse. Let's go to verse 11. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth and is of the seven and goeth into perdition. So the beast here at the end, the one that rose out of the sea, in chapter 13, that woman has been sitting on that beast. That is the eighth beast that goes into perdition. Okay, so once that beast's authority was stripped, when the Great Tribulation was cut short, okay, and the beast no longer had that authority to give out the abomination and stuff, that's when the frogs went forth. But here, that woman was the whole time. See, it was the woman with that cup full of the abominations, whose merchants, the great city, whose merchants deceived all nations with the pharmakia. That was during the Great Tribulation, the 42 months. The whore proceeded over the 42-month Great Tribulation, riding the beast. Okay, but now the 10 kings are about to arise. They're tired of the woman. They're tired of her control. They're tired of her manipulation. It's time to throw her off. Okay, so you see, so things will shift to the east, okay? Because that's what the sixth bowl was all about, that preparation, the Euphrates River drying up, and the preparation of the kings of the east to come, all right? Because Babylon, ever since the days of great Alexander the Great, has been a Western influence, okay? Britain, America, we're all in the tradition of the Greco-Roman world, okay? The democracy, the republic, okay? This is the model that has been since the days of Alexander. Alexander the Great, when he conquered the East, he made Babylon his capital, okay? And you see that in Daniel in chapter 10, when Gabriel came to give him the message, he was prevented by the prince of Persia, okay? Because the prince of Persia, the kings of the East, were in control back then. But Michael went off to fight so that the prince of Grecia, okay, those ruling principalities, could come and take power, okay, and they did ever since the time of Alexander the Great, through the Romans, through the Middle Ages, through Britain, through America. We have been the ones at the steering the beast, okay, but this is about to change. All right, and the way of the kings of the east is being prepared. Okay, so it's time. Babylon's sins have come to to its full, and it's time to throw off the woman, the whore. The West is about to fall. Okay. And then the kings of the East, who have no kingdom as of yet, receive power with the beast. Okay. That beast system, that spirit that ascended from the bottomless pit, because in the end, it's a spirit. Okay. That was and is not, and it came back. Okay. It's coming back. And everybody will be amazed that Babylon has fallen, the West has fallen, and the kings of the East are back, in 1 hour. Okay, so it says, verse 11, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth and is of the seven, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. And you see this, the rise of the BRICS nations, and there's 10 of them. Okay. And on my posts, I showed you that, in their meeting in Rio, just actually a few days ago happened. All 10 of them were on stage with the little spiky palm tree representative, with 10 horns and like 10 little toes on those little palm trees. It's pretty obvious. Okay. So these shall make war with the Lamb. Okay. So it's the 10 kings. It's the kings of the East that fight at Armageddon. Where are we? Where are the West? How come we're not protecting Israel? Because we're gone. Okay. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings, and they that are with him are called, chosen, and faithful. And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. You see, the United States is that melting pot, with all those different nationalities. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Okay, the BRICS nations are against the United States. They want to bring down our currency. They want to break the monopoly of power that the United States wields over the world. Okay, he shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Okay, that's a nuclear fire. Okay, we see that in Jeremiah 50 and those arrows, and Zechariah 5 with the flying scroll with the offering of fire inside the ephah. We see it. Okay, for God hath put in their hearts to fulfill His will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Okay, there's only one great city in modern days that rules over the kings of the earth, and it is not Rome. When we look at Babylon the Great in chapter 18, it's talking about the merchants of the earth. It's talking about the one that sits on many waters, and all the merchants wailing, off the coast. That's not Rome. That's not Jerusalem. That's not Rome. That's not Mecca or Medina or any of these others. This is the United States, okay, where the little horn is. The king of Babylon is the little horn, the one that speaks great things. It's Trump. Trump is the little horn. He's the modern day king of Babylon. Okay, and he comes to nothing, as the prophet Daniel says in chapter 11, verse 45, that he'll come to his end and none will help him. Okay, that's coming. All right, so we see in Revelation 18 that she falls. Okay, look at verse 1 in Revelation 18. And after these things, okay, after he's shown Mystery Babylon and the 10 horns rising and the 10 horns burning her and destroying her, eating her flesh and burning her with fire. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. You can also think of the abomination that came forth, the merchants of the earth, Moderna, Pfizer, and the abomination that caused deceived the whole world. Every nation was deceived. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And if you go back to Revelation 17, when John is shown the whore, verse 1 says, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials. So you see, this takes place at the end. Okay, it's after the 42 months, it's after the 1,260 days. Okay, um, you see that in Revelation 11. Okay, that this takes place after. It's after the tribulation of those days when the beast had his 42-month authority. Okay, he's hanging around. Yes, the beast system and the false prophet system will be alive and kicking at the coming of the Lord in the battle of Armageddon, but that doesn't mean they still have the authority that they had during those 42 months, because they won't. All right, so after we see Babylon physically destroyed here in Revelation 18, and you can read that yourself, about, and it for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and every company in ships and sailors. I mean, think of our ports: New York, San Francisco, L.A., you know, and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And it's not just talking about a single city like Rome or New York. It's talking, because we see in the judgment of Babylon the Great in Jeremiah 50 and 51 that it's cities. Okay, it's a nation. It's a nation state. It's a national city. All right. And they cast their dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, alas, alas, that great city wherein we were made rich, all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour she is made desolate. Okay, so this isn't Rome. There's not going to be ships. Rome is in the middle of Italy. Okay, there's no ports. No one's going to be on ships, is going to be in the Mediterranean crying for her. No, this isn't Jerusalem. Jerusalem is not cast down and never to rise again. I mean, when Jesus Christ comes back to reign and rule, he'll rule from Jerusalem. Okay, that Holy Land will be restored, not America. Okay, here we go. So if once you've seen all that destruction and mayhem in Revelation 18, you go to Revelation 19, which is about the second coming of Christ. And after these things, after what things? After he was shown mystery Babylon, after after the seventh seal. After the seventh vial, one of the angels with the seventh vials tells him about mystery Babylon and shows him the fall of Babylon. We're still in chronological order. And after these things, I heard a great voice of much people in heaven, hint, hint, saying, Alleluia, salvation and glory and honor and power unto the Lord our God. And we learn from, and I'll go to it very briefly, Isaiah chapter 24, about the day of the Lord and it's in the destruction, is the exact same sequence of events. For true and righteous are his judgments, for he hath judged the great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and hath avenged the blood of his servants at her hand. And again they said, Alleluia, and her smoke rose up forever and ever. And the 24 elders and the 4 beasts fell down and worshipped God that sat on the throne, saying, Amen, Alleluia. And a voice came out of the throne, saying, Praise our God, all ye his servants, and all ye that fear him, both great and small. And I heard, as it were, the voice of great multitude. Okay, think of that multitude that came out of the great tribulation. And they're in heaven. And as the voice of many waters, as the voice of mighty thundering, saying, Alleluia, for the Lord God omnipotent reigneth. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. And we see these same saints coming back with him a few verses later after heaven is open upon horses at the battle of Armageddon. So we can see here that the fall of Babylon, the destruction of America and the West with nuclear fire, that's described in Jeremiah 50, 51, and Zechariah 5, and Isaiah 24, which I'm turning to now, happens after the Great Tribulation. So, I mean, you're hearing a lot of pre-tribbers getting the description of the day of the Lord correct, but they're putting the day of the Lord before the Great Tribulation. The day of the Lord, the Bible's very explicit, happens after the tribulation of those days. Okay? During the time of Jacob's trouble. The time of Jacob's trouble is not the 42-month tribulation. Okay? The 42-month tribulation, Israel was a poster boy of the mark of the beast and the abomination of desolation. Okay? They were not reviled then, they were praised. Look at Israel. They're like, we should follow their example. They're the chosen people of God after all. So the devil used that against them. Okay? But after the tribulation of those days, what happened? Immediately after, October 7th, 2023. Okay? The day 1120 happened 1,290 days after March 11th, Shushan Purim, 2020. 1,290 days later was exactly Day of Atonement, September 23rd, 2023. Okay? That's when it ended officially. It was cut short at second Passover at day 1,150, just as Jesus said that those days would be cut short, lest no flesh survive. Okay, the beast wasn't destroyed, but his authority to cause all to receive his mark ended, officially ended, and it hasn't come back, and it's not going to come back. I know you hear people, oh, we're going to have a second round of it. No, that's unbiblical. It's unbiblical nonsense. Okay, it's no longer the day of the beast; it's the day of the Lord. It's time for His day. Okay, so if you look at Isaiah 24, it's behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. Okay, what you're going to hear is a detailed description of that destruction. Okay, people call it World War III. Okay, or a nuclear holocaust. But listen to it. And it shall be with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller. See, they're all equal in this destruction. As with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the Lord hath spoken his word. Okay, this is the vehicle that and the agent God uses for his destruction. Okay, and it's detailed in Zechariah 5 if you want to read it. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled. Okay, think of the abomination of desolation and how the majority of flesh is now corrupted and defiled, even at the genetic level. The earth also was defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore hath the curse, the same curse from Zechariah 5, okay, the nuclear fire, the ephah with the fire inside, okay, the offering of fire, which God calls wickedness. Okay, when the restrainer is removed, the wicked will be revealed. Okay, it's not only just talking about the spirit of Antichrist, but it's talking about the wicked fire that's unleashed upon the ungodly. Okay, therefore hath the curse devoured the earth. That's the same one in Zechariah 5 is talking about. This is the curse that overtakes the whole earth. And they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. Okay? The new wine mourneth. Okay, that could be a hint. It could be a clue that this event may take place during, the harvesting of the new wine, which is, it's the end of June, July. We're past June, but it goes into July to the end of July, beginning of August. This is that season of new wine. Okay, um, Israel celebrates a feast of new wine on the 3rd of Av, which is July 28th. It's a high watch time. This time between the straits. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth. All the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets ceases. The noise of them that rejoiceth endeth. Now, what does that sound like? Sounds like Revelation 18, doesn't it? Okay, this is the burning, the fall of Babylon in the west. Okay, they take the brunt of it. The kings of the east, they're left intact to the point they can at least go after Israel after this. And Israel and Iran may be the trigger to this whole thing. All right? The mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with a song, strong drink shall be bitter to them, and drink it. The city of confusion, think of Babel, is broken down. Every house is shut up. Think of this. This is a description that no man may come in. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. But listen to this. Simultaneously, through all that darkness, okay, think of Isaiah, 66, the darkness upon the people, but the glory of the Lord will rise upon thee. All right? We see not only will Christ at his coming send his angels to gather out all that offend and cast them into a furnace of fire, but he will gather his elect at the same time and put them in his barn. Okay, it's a simultaneous destruction, sudden destruction, and judgment, and deliverance and salvation for those that are in the book. Okay, during the first resurrection, and those that are saved and have the Holy Spirit will be transformed. Those that are alive and remain will be transformed. Okay, and there will be a remnant of Israel saved. All right, here we go. Verse 13, when thus it shall be in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as the shaking of an olive tree and as the gleaning grapes when the vintage is done. They shall lift up their voice. They shall sing for the majesty of the Lord. They shall cry aloud from the sea. You see? Okay. Wherefore glorify ye the Lord in the fires, even the name of the Lord God of Israel in the isles of the sea. Okay, there'll be a remnant, those that escape. Pray that you are counted worthy to escape all these things and to stand before the Son of Man. Okay, from the uttermost parts of the earth have we heard songs, even glory to the righteous. But I said, my leanness, my leanness. Now, these are the people that are caught unawares. Woe unto me! The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Okay, the treacherous dealer is, it's describing Trump and the West, and it's gone over in Isaiah 21. We've already gone over that. This is already fulfilled. All right, it's because of their treacherous deals that the 10 kings get fed up and say enough, and destroy Babylon the Great. Fear and the pit and the snare. Okay, this is the day of the Lord. This is not the great 42-month tribulation where the beast is given out the mark of the beast. That's over. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth. It's hit now. It's hit. Okay? This is the days of vengeance. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit. And he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. Okay, it's not water coming down and coming up now, it's fire. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. That's the fall of Babylon. That's the millstone. Okay? And listen to this. This is the timing of it. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, the fallen angels, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. All right? Listen to this. It doesn't say in that day the Antichrist will rise and will rebuild a temple and sacrifice red heifers and sit on an Ark of the Covenant and tell everybody to take his 666 tattoo. And if they don't, he's going to put them in guillotines that he has at Walmarts and put them in concentration camps. No, all that's over. You missed it. You missed it. You missed the test. You missed it. Okay? And in that day, let me read it again. In that day, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. What day? When Babylon is punished. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit. Ooh, Revelation 20. And shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days, 1,000 years, they shall be visited. That's when Satan's little season actually happens. You see? This is all chronological. Perfection. No confusion. Then the moon shall be confounded and the sun ashamed when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem and before his ancients gloriously. There you go. There's the reign of Christ, where he must reign until all enemies are put under his feet, and death will be the last one to be conquered. And then the heavens and the earth will pass away with a great noise and fervent heat, and the works thereof shall be burned up. Okay? And then the great white throne judgment, and that second resurrection, the resurrection unto damnation, and the great white throne judgment. And after that, a new heaven and a new earth, and the new Jerusalem descends. So that's where we are. Okay? So I just want to encourage everybody that we're here, not to get confused by other, videos that are describing the day of the Lord and, nuclear war and Zechariah 5 and all that very accurately. But they're putting the cart before the horse and saying, this is what activates the Left Behind movie scenario that they've always taught. And that's not going to happen. Okay. Just be aware of that. That's not going to happen. We're past the 42 months. Okay. We're now at the cusp of the day of the Lord, the sudden destruction, and the salvation of God's elect. God bless everybody.